Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Richest Men In Town podcast. I'm Mike Freeman, and along with my good friend and co-host Tyler Gould, we're excited to welcome you to our little podcast project. Tyler and I are just a couple of middle-aged husbands and dads driven to live our best lives. We want to be better every day, so here we'll be sitting down with great people. Not famous people, but great people that we admire, to learn their secret to living the rich life. Probably not the rich life you're thinking of. Our guests come in humbled and surprised at the invitation and hopefully leave feeling proud and grateful, realizing just how good they really have it. So pull up a chair, stay a while, and raise a glass with us as we toast our guests to the richest men in town.
Mike Freeman, we just spent a few hours, as we usually do, in the middle of the week, recording a new episode. And I got to tell you, Mike, every episode that we record is unique in its own way. Right? All of our guests are unique in its own way. I just have this thing, like tonight was a different experience for me entirely. We spent a couple hours with Dr. Justin Mudekereza, who is a presidential candidate, among a lot of other things, for the DR Congo, right? And we got to learn a little bit about his life. I'll tell you, Mike, I had a stake president tell me one time as I was sitting in a meeting, he says, you know, every effort that you make on behalf of others is recorded in heaven. Right? God is aware of all of those efforts that we make. And I loved hearing that. It's rattled around in my brain since the time he said it, but Justin personifies that. Right. He is the man who is, he said to us tonight, I have no money. I've invested it all in people. What do you take away tonight after spending a couple hours with Dr. Justin?
So I love all of our guests, and like you said, every guest is an individual. Every guest is unique. Every experience on the Richest Men in Town is unique, but let's just be real with this one. We are over our skis. As we're talking to Dr. Justin Mudekereza, like, you know, there is faith, and then there is the faith that he demonstrates in the power of his story. There's the hand of God, and I am not making light of my own experiences. I have had experiences with the hand of God in my life where I know God knows me. But when you listen to Justin's story, I hope that it highlights what God has done for us, right? But what he is about, what Dr. Justin is about, and what he has done and what he will do, and the fact that we were able to spend a couple of hours with him, right? Thank you, Dan Collins. Thank you for the 6 degrees of separation that have allowed us to do the things that we've been able to do on this podcast. But we're going. This episode is going to the Democratic Republic of Congo. And Dr. Justin Mudekereza is on the ballot this December to change a country. Right? Yeah. You get, I'm trying to keep my powder dry. You ask what gives you hope these days to Dr. Justin. He's talking about the hope of millions of people tied into his campaign for change. Words don't even do it justice, right? I don't want to do cliche. I think every week I start with, well, the richest man in town goes places we've never gone before. Come on, right? Where we go here, we'll never go again. And I've had a couple of moments on this podcast where it's like, that's the reason.
Yeah.
That's the reason why we're doing it. And every week it's like, that's the reason. Or we'll get a text from somebody saying, hey, I listened to episode 73 and episode 73 made me make some changes, right? Thank you. That's the reason. And we get these things. But tonight it feels different.
Yeah. Yeah.
It feels different that Dan felt like compelled, right? You shared the story a little bit of how we got here. Dan felt compelled that you got to talk to Justin.
Yeah.
And Dr. Justin has lived a life that is unbelievable. Unbelievable. Right? We joke in our time, we joke like, man, Hollywood needs to grab this. You wouldn't believe it if you watched it in a movie.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So many principles, though. So many principles are so RMIT. We're talking about the other side of the planet. We're talking about a different culture. But the principles that Dr. Justin shared that have moved him in his life, that have driven him forward, drive us every day. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that there's power in that. So our listeners are like, what am I going to get from this, man? Listen with ears.
Yeah.
Right. We start off in our own little way talking about impact and moments of impact. Man, Dr. Justin's last name is Mudekereza, named after his father, a name given to his father.
Yeah.
And that moment where the father talks to the son and says, live your name, changes Justin forever, and could change the country that he calls home.
It changed the world.
Could change,
right? Could
that
change
moment.
The world.
That moment could change the world.
Yeah.
And we think of people that don't look like us, and we wonder what their story is. Quite possibly, that person living on the street. Quite possibly, that person at a Greyhound bus station has a story richer than you and I. And just he's stuck in the middle of nowhere. Right?
Yeah,
that idea of that refugee, that idea of like, man.
I think if you've ever felt like coincidence is right, you've had that moment, you're like, well, that's a coincidence. You're going to listen to Justin's story. You're going to evaluate some of the experiences that you've had in your own life. And I think you're going to redefine some of those things that you once called coincidence. Because Justin does a great job of being intentional about recognizing the guidance that God is giving him. And it's powerful.
Well,
it is powerful.
We're going to do this thing, right? We're doing our little bit, and we're going to throw it out there. I don't know where it lands, but if it lands in your ears, I just want to tell whoever's listening, God will not forsake us. Like we're not alone.
Yeah.
Not unknown. We're not lost. And there are powerful forces in all of our lives trying to help us.
Yeah.
Trying to help us remember who we are, trying to help us to get us to do the thing that we're supposed to do. Right? And I think whoever listens to Dr. Justin, that's one of the takeaways. Yeah. How many times? Try me.
Try me.
Just try me. Because the God that brought you to me will not leave me alone. And so many times we're in these situations and we curse, right? We might shake our fist at sky and say, I didn't do anything to deserve this. Man, maybe it's just like, you know what? I'm going to wait for my set.
Yeah.
I'm just going to wait.
That's it.
I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait for that door to open because I know, right? I know something's going to happen. And for Dr. Justin's story is all about that, something happening.
I love it. You know, to all those people that make appearances in Justin's story, man, God bless you. Right.
Thank you
for being there.
$30,
$30, man, made a change the life. To Justin, for his faith, his intentionality, and his desire to do right by others. Man, what a great lesson tonight. To our listeners, if you find yourself wondering where God fits into your life, listen to Justin and he'll teach you how that works. Enjoy your time tonight with Dr. Justin Mudekereza on the Richest Men in Town. Here we are, Mike Freeman. I'm excited about tonight, man. We have a friend of Dan Collins, a previous guest, joining us tonight.
So Dan Collins, so we're in the 140s, right? Dan Collins is going back episode 69.
Oh, wow. Okay. I was wondering. Yeah.
And it's only a matter of time, right? If you remember Dan Collins' story in the episode and the places where Dan took us, it's only a matter of time before people in Dan's world collide and intersect with our world, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Dan's doing some incredible work.
Right. His
Dan's an
world's kind of
amazing
big,
guy.
man. Right.
Yeah, right.
Got a big
Like
world.
literally
Yeah.
big.
Yeah.
And I think we're in this amazing place, down where you're at. There's a lot of stories that bring people from all over the world into your neck of the woods, and you just happen to know Dan, and Dan connects you with some people doing some incredible things.
Yeah. So it's right. Justin is going to join us tonight, and he is, we don't want to get too deep into his story because he's got a lot of story to tell, but, he's from the Democratic Republic of Congo, and he's been through some stuff. So, I'm excited to hear what he's got to say about it.
Yeah, you're right. Right. Exciting times, right? Exciting times. How you been?
Fantastic, man. Fantastic. Got a couple kids home from BYU, right?
There we go. That's fun.
And you've got, you're in this, we're in the same boat. You know what I mean? You got a son that's getting ready to leave.
Yeah. So the other day I get a rare opportunity where it's him and I in a car for a couple of hours.
Nice.
Right. And you don't want to be like, cue the dad lecture, but that's a Richest Men In Town is about moments of impact.
Yeah.
And I think of Brian Beasley and just like intentionally shaping that experience. Like, what would you say to a kid being, where Abe's at and what he's got coming at him? And you got a couple of hours of undistracted time to be able to pour into your boy. Kind of a cool opportunity.
Yeah. It's like that Ashton Buswell. Would you like to talk about wrestling, or do you want to talk about girls? Right. I love that. I think that, it's such a, it's a disarming question, but it opens up a lot of different paths.
Yeah. I'm going to put it down on wax right here, Tyler Gould. The conversation that I had basically came down to, look, you've got a cool opportunity. I want to use your opportunity to be better. Right. I would love for you to come home in 2 years and for you to look at me and say, whoa, man, you're different.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
You've changed. And we've talked about this before, right?
Yeah.
Like, okay, so here's the thing that is kind of keeping me up at night. The other day I'm reading and I come across Schrodinger Brat. I love this name.
Yeah.
Brat, right? You a Brat guy?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Schrodinger Brat says confidence is about keeping promises with yourself.
Yeah.
Because the greatest lies ever told are the ones you tell yourself.
Yeah.
Right. And so I'm like, all right, I'm going to be right here, right now, Abe. I've got some things I want to get better at. And the beautiful thing is your boy looks at you and says, Dad, what could you possibly have to work on?
That's awesome. Hey, you're in a good spot if your son says that to you. I think my kids would list it off for me. Let me pull that piece of paper out of my back pocket. I got a few things that we could talk about.
Well, and then you cue that up. So I have that experience with Abe. Great conversation. Love that kid. And then boom, here we are in our midweek church, right? Where we get a chance to sit down with Justin and say, Justin, right? Talk to me about how I can keep promises to myself and be the best I can be.
Yeah, I think it's cool, Mike, because, I find myself in the same spot, right? Wanting to talk to my kids that have been out of my house for a little while, kind of download, pour into them a little bit, hear about the experiences that are shaping them. And then I get to come into this podcast in the middle of the week and talk to people like Justin and Lester and sharpen my saw so that I can go and have these kind of critical conversations with the people that I love. So,
yeah,
it's a very cool thing.
Well, I was having a conversation with somebody the other day and they said, man, so you and Tyler, man, he lives on the other end of the state. Like, how are you guys staying close? Right. And I actually queued up the moment. I was like, you know what? Here's the deal. When Tyler left, hope I'm not getting too personal, but when Tyler left, he gave me a letter. And there was a line in that letter that said basically like, hey, look, the world's a small place and we can do this. And I don't know what intent, I don't know what was going through your head, but like that letter created a moment where it wasn't just so many times flippantly we have people come in and out of our lives and we say, yeah, let's keep in touch. Right. But the way you did that moment had an impact that set a hook. And it was like, you know what? The world is a small place. We can figure this out. And we have these moments all the time. Are we using those moments to shape it as a moment of impact where things are going to be different? Or is it just like run the script, wave your hand, say, okay, yep, we'll be in touch. Have a good day, right? All of these interactions, all of these intersections, we could be using them to create a little bit more impact in our lives and the lives of people. Man, the show's all about impact. The show's all about those moments. It'd just be cool if we can go into life and intentionally kind of shape some of those moments so that results are different.
Well, I think the thing that's cool too, and I agree with you, Mike, and you know, sometimes we have these thoughts and these feelings and these ideas, and we say, you know what, this would be a good idea to do in this moment. And probably 75% of the time I move past those moments and I say, oh, I'll get to that, or I'll maybe, you know, I don't know how important that is. But man, when we grab them, right, like good things come. And so maybe that was a moment of the 25% where I thought, you know, I'll write a letter and something good will come. So, but yeah, I appreciate that, because this has been that, I think that has led to this, and this has put us in a spot where I'm learning a lot every week. And so I'm super grateful for that. But listen, we've got a guy who is a busy man he's sitting in the green room right now.
People have no idea just how busy. We'll get into that, right?
Yeah.
But when you say he's a busy man, take what you're thinking right now, 10x that thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's open the doors and let our friend Justin in, and we'll get to learn about what busy actually means, right? You and I, we tell ourselves
it's a good busy, right?
It's a good busy, man. It's a really
good. Justin is a good busy these days.
Yes. Yeah. Justin, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Can you see me? I cannot see you, but I can hear you.
I don't know what's the problem, but oh man. Okay, I think my camera.
There we go.
Yeah.
There he is. How are you, Justin?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, and I appreciate you being here with us tonight. I know I was just telling Mike. So, Justin, this is my good friend Mike Freeman.
Justin, welcome to the Richest Men In Town. Pleasure to meet you.
Oh, hi, Mike.
So we're excited.
Looking forward to spending some time with you tonight.
Yeah,
sure.
I was just telling Mike, you know, life is busy and we all have busy schedules, but I don't think anyone has a busier schedule than Justin has. So, so I'm super grateful that you're here, and that we get to hear a little bit about your experiences. You know, we have a mutual friend in Dan Collins, and that's how we've connected with you, Justin. And I'm just really excited about what's going on. So tell us a little bit about what's happening in your life right now.
Oh, have we started?
Yes, we are rolling.
Oh yeah, a lot is going on in my life. As you know, I was so happy to meet you at the mission devotional.
Yeah.
I thought you were in another state. I didn't know you were here in California. But as you know, or as you heard from my story, so there's a lot going on, too much to do, a lot of contacts to make, getting ready for the elections. So it's this year, December 28th. So it's really crazy right now. So, and you know, with the time differences, I'm not even, I don't have to sleep, because when it's morning here, it's night there. When it's night here, it's morning. It's daytime the other side.
So you've got 22 hours of day that you're burning with a couple hours of sleep. Is that?
I'm telling you, it's so crazy. Yeah.
Well, so Justin, I'm hanging out. Tyler's getting me a little bit of backstory into some of the things that you shared at the fireside, and I think one of the takeaways was you had about 90-minute story that you were trying to cram into about 20 minutes of a window. Well, tonight we have some time, right? And so when you talk about, let me just get a little bit of context for me and for our listeners. When you're talking elections, we're not talking about elections here in the United States of America, and we're not just talking about elections as voters, right? What's going on with this election opportunity that you're talking about?
Yeah, it's an election that is taking place in the Democratic Republic of Congo, not in the United States. So because I'm originally from the DR Congo, so that's the Democratic Republic of Congo. So in Africa, we actually have two Congos. So there's a small, tiny Congo that's the Republic of Congo on the west, and there is the Democratic Republic of Congo, that's the former Zaire, which is the second largest country in Africa today. So actually the second large country in Africa was Sudan, but Sudan was split into two. So the Republic of Sudan and the Republic of South Sudan. So now DR Congo is the second largest country after Algeria.
And you are on the ballot in that election.
Yes. So what happened is, like, all my life I've been in the humanitarian work, helping people. That's what I've been up to all my life. And in 2016, because in DR Congo, we held the very first democratic elections in 2006. And that's when former President Joseph Kabila was elected. And the constitution says that every president-elect has to serve for 2 terms. And after that, he leaves office and organizes elections to give place to another president. But Joseph Kabila never wanted to go from office, so he modified the constitution to try to remain in office forever, like the dictator Mobutu Sese Seko did in the past, and then the other 3 decades or so. So in 2016, there were many pressure movements that rose to try to force him to go out, and hold elections and, leave office. And many civil society organizations started to pressure him and his regime. And there were many other, there were 375 civil society organizations who came together and made up what they called ROSICO. ROSICO, that's in French, le regroupement des organisations de la société civile du Congo. So that means a Congolese civil society platform, association platform. So they started, that was a grassroots movement to force, among those who were forcing Joseph Kabila to get out of office. So these people made a general meeting, and they said, well, we have a very well organized committee, but we need someone who is outside the DR Congo who can speak out. But he should be someone we know very well from what he did before in the country. And we have to find. So people came up with names, and my name was also through on the table. So the majority voted for me, and then they started looking for my contacts. We know that Justin is in America, but we don't know where exactly. So started looking for me, and eventually they got my email address. They contacted me, sent me a letter, and say, hey, this is how it happened, and we voted for you in majority to lead this pressure movement. Wow. Then I said, how did you guys vote for me? I did not participate in any vote, So I actually asked my friend Dan Collins, you know about him. I told him, look at what just happened in Congo. These people came up together and voted for me for whatever I did not even request, So then said, okay, Justin, there are many politicians or other people looking for, popularity, but for you, you did not seek anything, you did not ask, but they chose you from what they knew, the values and, how you have served the community. That's how they chose you. So I said, okay. I told them, okay, so what do you want me to do? They said, no, we'll call you the moral authority because we have already a president of the movement. So since you are going to be on the top of the president of the movement, then we will call you our moral authority. I said, well, I don't like those names because I know they were born in Congolese politics arena. And then they say, what do you want to be called? I say, oh, just call me someone in charge of public relations for you. So, and that's how they start calling me a PRO, a public relations officer. And I started making some contacts, guiding them, and until Joseph Kabila gave up and finally organized elections in 2018. So we decided to mobilize the whole civil society in Congo to make sure that his person, the person he chose from his party, was not elected president, because we wanted to uproot the corrupt regime. So all his regime wanted it to go. So we did a very good job. We mobilized all the civil society until Kabila got out of office, and even the person he chose to be his candidate did not win the election. So that's what the first time we saw in Congo, an incoming president and outgoing. So they made this, we call a peaceful transfer of power. That was the very first time in 2018 in Congo.
Wow.
So, yeah. So then in 2019, just after the elections, we decided to hold a general meeting to know if we should continue our movement or stop. So the general meeting was held again in Kinshasa, and I wasn't there actually, but I was communicating at distance from here in California, San Diego, California. So then we asked the question. We were fighting for real change in Congo. Did we see the change we wanted? So the majority said, well, we saw the outgoing president leave power or leave the seat, but his system is still in because he imposed the new president to take half of his cabinet members. So the ministers were still there. So the system was still the same because the new president was kind of, he entered into a deal that, okay, since the former president was already a multi-billionaire, he wanted to be protected and his wealth and his family to be protected. So they made a kind of deal, and we said, no, this is not going to work for the people because this new president will not do anything since he will be fearing the former president. So we decided to continue our struggle. But this time, we said we cannot continue as a pressure movement because there's no reason to continue the pressure. But we have to continue fighting for the real change that we've been looking for.
Right.
And the people voted again. They said, okay, well, we have to turn this movement into a political party. We needed to register it, officially known by the government as a political party, because by that time, no one could silence us as a movement. So they can silence a movement, but they cannot silence a political party that is registered by the government. So that's how we changed into a political party. The grassroots movement became MDVC, Elite Movement for Democracy and Real Change. So we registered it, and we continued to fight. The struggle continued. So the people then again voted me to continue to lead as the president, the chairman of that political party after its registration. Then that was last year, 2022, when we held what we call convention. I think in English it's the big convention. The party held a convention in Kinshasa. So there were 3 candidates, 2 men and 1 woman, who were candidates, and I was chosen to be the flag bearer or the presidential candidate of the party. And I wasn't there anymore. Again, sorry, wow. I wasn't there. So they chose me, and so that's how I'm the presidential candidate for my party this year, and the election is December 20th.
Wow.
And, so that's what happened.
That's incredible, Justin. I got a question for you though. You said that your whole life you've been involved in humanitarian work, which sort of led you to this point where that you were recognized for your past work. What was it that had you involved? What was your draw to the humanitarian work, and why were you so involved?
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. So my dad, I did not talk about that, but my dad was a cultural leader in my country. So he was a very powerful man, a very powerful cultural leader. In fact, I'm from a very huge family of 46 children of my dad.
Wow.
And
whoa.
Yes.
46.
Yeah, 46. And I'm the 11th son and the 17th child of my dad.
Wow.
So my father named me after a name that was given to him in our community. At a certain point, there were some conflicts between different people in our area, and the king decided to send my dad to try to settle those matters in that area. So everyone really failed, and then people were killing themselves with panga, cutting the heads and stuff like that. So over land and cows.
Wow.
So, but the king sent my dad, and my dad was able to settle that situation, and the peace came back. So, and then the people said, because my dad was, his name was Victor, his first name, Victor. So they said, we will not call you Victor anymore, but we will call you Mudekereza. So Mudekereza means a peacemaker. So that is in 1976. And that's when I was born. So my dad said, because I love this son of mine so much, I'm going to name him after, this name that I was given by the people. So that's why I was named Mudekereza. So then my dad, the king said, well, I knew that no one else would settle that matter. Only you were able to do that. So they told him, now that the peace is back, you can go back to the neighboring constituency to lead there. So that was in 1976 when I was born, as I said. And then my dad continued to serve the people, but he passed away in 1997 during the war, what we call Liberation War. But he was telling me every time, you are Mudekereza, leave your name. Every time, leave your name, remember. He was really a good friend of mine. In fact, some people in my community know me as Joseph, because the story is like Joseph, in the Bible.
Yeah.
Joseph, the son of who? So Joseph himself, as he was loved by his dad, and finally hated by his brothers, and then they sold him, but he was really blessed, and he continued to love them and help them whenever they were. But his dad Jacob knew that all that will happen, and he was the chosen son.
Yeah.
So when my dad passed away, we shared as his wealth, as he wrote in his will, and everyone chose to do. What to do with what they received in inheritance. But for me, I decided to sell all I received to start a nonprofit organization to help the widows and the orphans. And there were many victims of war in my area by that time, because there were many rebel groups. So people also, we also ended up supporting disabled people who lost maybe legs or hands or arms and so on and so forth. And so this is the work I've been doing all the time I was in my country, in Congo.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you took your inheritance and you took that and used that to develop this humanitarian effort in order to help
correct
address the damages caused by by war.
Yeah, correct. And I remember my mom, she was crying every night, days and nights, and even called my uncles to come and talk to me because they thought I was crazy. So that everyone is, my brothers and sisters sold whatever they got. They started businesses. Others married a second wife or so. But for me, I sold everything and I decided to start a nonprofit organization to help other people. So they thought I was crazy. And my mom was like, oh, why can you do this to yourself? So how will you marry yourself? Where will you get money to marry yourself because your dad is no longer alive? So so it was really a trouble for them to see me doing that. But I was confident that this is the way I will get my life saved, by serving other people.
Mm.
Wow.
So Mudekereza means peacemaker.
Yes, Mudekereza means peacemaker, a person who comes when people are in trouble. They feel peace, they feel relief. So the relief they get when that person comes in that area, because he's a peacemaker.
What a beautiful thing for your dad to look at you and say, live your name.
Yes, every time he was reminding me that. And when we went to a hideout during the war, so because he has very many wives, there were 7, and very many children, as I said, but he went only with me in his hideout. He did not accept to go with anyone else. He said, okay, others can go hide somewhere else, but I will go with Justin. So, and that's where we spent, I think, a month in our hideout. And when we came back, so they targeted him and he died. He passed away.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So Justin, when you say, you made the comment that you felt like by doing this thing, by creating this organization and helping others, you would find yourself. Where does that feeling come from? Is that just from being with your father and being kind of learning about living your name, or where does that come from for you? What drove you to that?
So I think this is very difficult to explain you, maybe because we share different cultures and traditions. Right. But in Africa, like those people, we call the ancients in Africa. So there were people who could know things that will happen in the future, and they will tell you clearly, they give you the picture, and that thing will happen. So my dad was also, as a cultural leader, he was having near him people who were like advisors, old people, seniors. And these seniors had some techniques that I cannot even explain, but they were seeing things and they tell you, and you'll see this thing will happen. So when they told my dad about me when I was born, that's when my dad, he received a warning that you have to prepare this man very well. This man is a lifesaver. So he's a lifesaver. He will save many, 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 many lives. And he will be a great man. I don't know, by saying great man, maybe. So, right. Yeah. So that's what they told my dad. And he started. So these kids, we call them miracle children in Africa. So I was part of those that can be considered as miracle children. And when my dad passed away, because he was doing very many good things for other people in the community. And there are even people we grew up together in our family. We never knew they were not our brothers and sisters. So there are kids that our dad took who were in trouble. Maybe they didn't have food to eat or ways to go to school, but he took them in charge. And then, we grew up together, not knowing that they were not our biological brothers and sisters. So we knew only when our dad passed away and when we were inheriting, because in his will, he also gave them something from his wealth. But we knew by that day, because if you are not a biological child, you cannot go on the mat when people are inheriting. So only those biological children can go on the mat. So we saw those other ones not on the mat, but they received something from our dad's wealth. So that's how he was. So after that, I decided to continue the work he was doing, but also I was receiving some messages at night. So you have to do this. You have to do this. You have to help the widows and orphans. And it really disturbed me until I went back to the seniors also to ask them the advice. And they say, hey, Justin, you are the miracle child for your family. And you have to understand that you cannot go by your own will. So do whatever you are seeing, what the revelations kind of you are seeing, you are receiving. So follow what you are being said, what we are being said to. And that's how I started. I didn't even have experience knowing how to create a nonprofit organization. It was really difficult. But I followed, those words and the guidance I got, and then I put in the resources that I had in inheritance. I sold everything and started. And it took me time even for people to start visiting my organization. So until international organizations started coming to see what I was doing with the widows and orphans. So I received grants, started receiving grants and signed different contracts, even including with the UN agencies in Congo. So the United Nations Development Program, the World Food Program, the UN FAO and others, UNICEF. So I really signed some contracts with all these organizations, and it helped me to do this humanitarian work. It made me very popular in my area.
So, wow, yes, I bet.
So how old? So when you have that, when you go, you said you went back, you went to the ancients or to the elders, and they told you have to do this. Right. And you have to maybe sacrifice your will, sounds like, to do this thing, right? To live out this destiny, to live out this thing that you were there to do. How old were you when you're wrestling with this?
So my dad passed away when I was 20. And this started coming immediately after he passed away. So 20 and a half, 21. And that's when I created that organization to help the widows and orphans. Yeah.
That's amazing. I love that idea though, that because I think, right, we one of the things that I'm always working on, I'll just use me, right, is this idea of how do I align my will with God's will, and have maybe the courage or the faith or both to do those things that we're asked to do or we feel called to do. And I just love that idea of sometimes you're going to have to sacrifice your will to do this great thing. I love that.
Yep.
Well, I feel worlds colliding right now. I feel the difference in your culture and my culture right now. But the beautiful thing about what I'm feeling is truth is truth.
Yeah, 100%.
Yes,
right?
Yes.
True. Yeah.
The true principles that are guiding you and that force that's calling you to do this work is the same force that calls all of us to do things, right? To do things for other people, to sacrifice self in order to be of service. And then we know when we're of service, when we're in service to other people, we're really doing the work that God wants us to do.
Yeah.
And but it sounds really easy from me sitting here in my place in California, but for you to be in war-torn home, in your war-torn home country, and to see the possibility of maybe taking some wealth and doing some things for yourself and setting you and your family up for the future, for future success. And you put that on the altar basically and sacrifice it and say, no, I'm going to take what my dad has given me and it will live on in doing good to other people. Powerful.
Yeah, actually talking about that, knowing that you are kind of giving everything away. So you don't have to think about the future. And in my life, I've never thought about the future. I know my family members, my brothers and sisters, they always plan to say, I have to do this, I have to plan, I have to buy a home, I have to keep money for this. But for me, I decided to put my life in the Lord's hands. So that himself can plan for me, plans everything. So I'm a man of great faith. That faith that is saying in the Bible, that I talk about in the Bible, that can remove mountains, can move mountains and place them to other places. That's my faith. And it was really, really, a big struggle actually before, because knowing that, okay, I have this, but if I do this, it can multiply and it will help me, it can help my family. But I decided to leave that kind of thinking and accept to give my life. Actually, the Savior's example is a very nice example how he decided to leave everything and his family, his home, and come and fight and die for us,
Yeah.
So I can tell you, as I said, I sold everything. But at the end, I started buying even some of the properties from my brothers and sisters. So I can show you a key. I have a safe key for Citibank where I keep here. I bought these lands that I sold, and the farms from my family at some point they were selling, and I was the person who was supposed to buy them. And then I said, well, remember when we were selling, you guys were kind of, what is he doing? This man, is he crazy or what? But I have over 100 acres of land that I bought from my brothers and sisters. When they were in need of money, I was buying from them. So they never dreamt that one day I would even buy 1 acre of land.
Right.
They saw me giving away everything.
Wow.
Because it doesn't, you talk about this being a person of great faith, that doesn't make sense to the natural man mind, right?
I know.
Like he's giving away.
Yeah.
And later, because he gave away and is of service to other people, he's provided means to be able to come around and buy the thing
that helps those people again.
Other people were given. Other people were given away, right? It's powerful.
Now you see, I'm here in America. I'm here in the United States. But those acres of land, I told them, you are my family. I love you. So you're my brothers and sisters. Go exploit those farms. If you have ideas how you can exploit, do that. So I have a few cows in there. So the milk that is being produced is being used by my brothers and sisters. I'm not using that milk. I'm not drinking that milk because I'm here. So, and they started understanding that it is really a matter of great love, because none of them could do something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's amazing. I love that. But
I'm not drinking that milk. Right?
Yeah. So make use of it. I love that. So I've got to ask though, Justin. So you've created this organization. You've made these sacrifices. You've created this organization. You're helping the widows and the orphans, and that's created some popularity for you in the area. How do you end up in San Diego, California?
The way I came here is, actually long story, as I always say, but so in 2006, that's when we held the first elections in my country. So by that time, I started receiving calls and contacts from different politicians who wanted me to support their candidacies because they knew I was very popular. And if I could stand up and tell the people, hey, vote for Tyler, vote for Mike, so the people will follow. Because the people called me the father of the orphans. And I say, no, it's God who's the father of the orphans. So that's, and if I go there with you, you will see how they will carry me. And I say, no, don't carry me. I don't want this. So I don't want to be, So, but they consider me at that point because they know what I've done for them or what I continue to do. So I had to flee the country in that time because these guys eventually sent people to kill me because I couldn't do what they wanted me to do. And they sent soldiers to kill me. So it was really a very bad experience. I was coming from the field where I was helping some of my clients, and they contacted my project manager. He started giving them directions where we were going and what time we would go back. So in the evening around 6, we came back, and I saw a pickup of soldiers, and these guys stopped, and they kind of blocked our road, and they jumped out of the pickup and started asking, "Where is Justin? Where's Justin?" So I told my driver, so they know who they're looking for. We don't have to do anything. So I came out. I had my whole team in the Land Cruiser I was using for field trip, and so they started. They took me in the bush there. They started beating everyone, who was in the car, and they took me separately, so people couldn't see where they took me, what they were doing to me. So they started, beating me up seriously. You can see some scars on my body. You can see them in these teeth. I got them here. So it was very a horrible situation. But the guy who was the soldier, who was kind of the mission leader, told me, even if they torture you, you will not die. They sent us to kill you, but we know the work you've been doing for the people, and we will not kill you. So, but don't go back to the city, because if they know that we did not kill you, we will face the issues and they will kill us. So that's how the villagers came. So they left me because some of those soldiers were drunk. They beat me seriously. And
so Justin, really quick. In the middle of you being attacked, your attackers are telling you, we will not kill you because of the work that you've done. It will be bad. You will be beaten, you will be tortured, but we will not kill you because of the work that you have done for the community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there were 14 soldiers. They were drunk, they were, because they knew they were going into an operation. So, but the guy who was their leader, he was a captain, and he was sober. He was not drunk at all. So others were drunk, were smoking bad cigarettes. And then, so they started beating me up seriously with knives, with the guns and so on and so forth. But this captain whispered to me in my language that we were sent to kill you, but you will not die, because we know the work you've been doing for the community. But I will shoot in the air and you will pretend dead, and then we will go. Wow. So he shot, and then he told others, Asia Kufi. So that means he's already dead. Let's go. So that's how they left me there.
You were left for dead.
Yeah, I was left there bleeding like a river. I was the blood was flowing as a river until in the night. Villagers came, someone came, I think he was going back home late. He saw me, he thought I was actually a bandit hiding, attacking people. Mm-hmm. He went running in the village and called villagers to come with torches. And so they said, oh no, this man is dying. That's how they took me there, and they started, using herbal, some herbs to herbal medicine to try to stop the blood from flowing, because there was no hospital nearby there in that bush, and they used that for 2-3 days. The blood stopped. Then these guys called my wife, because my phones were taken away, my car was taken away, so they did their best. When they saw that it was me, they were so sorry. They felt so bad, and then they did their best to contact my wife. So that's when my wife came, because these guys said, don't go back to the city, because if you go back to the city, they will know that we did not kill you. And when my wife came with the kids, we continued to the neighboring district, and we crossed the border and went to Uganda, which is the neighboring country where we went and we tried to seek asylum there. So we stayed in Uganda for a few years, like 7 years, I remember. And then from there, because in Uganda also it's another big story that, starting over, we were starting life over again. We didn't have anything. So it was even difficult to feed my children. I had 3 kids by then. it was very, very difficult to feed them. And I was every day and night, I was like telling God, I was feeding the widows and orphans in my country. I didn't even know where they were from. I didn't care. I didn't care if they knew, if I knew them or I didn't know them. So, but I fed everyone because I got a very big contract with the World Food Program to distribute 347 tons of food every month to these people.
Wow.
So I was having like 21, 22 trucks of food. I mean, not trucks, but lorries. So of food every month to distribute to those people. Wow. And that was like, okay, I was feeding people, but now I cannot feed my own family. This is very, very difficult for me. So
in a number of days, you went from feeding thousands to struggling to feed your three.
My own family. Yeah, it was really difficult. Yeah. And I said, I know the Lord who helped me to save my life will not forsake me. So with my faith again, I said, what to do? We didn't have even where to stay, where to sleep. The kids, we were sleeping in a church, the church that was under construction. So we stayed there in church until we got someone who helped us with a very small amount of money that we went to look for one bedroom, just one bedroom. And we stayed there with the family until I decided to do, I don't know, it's not here, you don't do that maybe, but it's called dry fasting. So dry fasting, you don't eat, you don't drink. For a few days you decide. But I told the Lord, I will not drink or eat for 3 days until something happens. So I took that. And my wife was like, oh, I want to fast with you. I said, no, you cannot do this because you are breastfeeding. So we had a baby and I told her, don't do that. I will do myself. Let me take this responsibility as the leader of the family. So I started my fasting. Immediately when I finished, I received a phone call. And this phone call came from a man he has a company. His name is Stefan. He's a Belgian. He has a company in Uganda. And he said, Justin, I want to talk to you. Can you come to my office? He told me where his office was, and I knew the place. I said, well, can you help me and accept that I come tomorrow because right now I'm unable to come. I'm feeling very weak. So he said, okay, come tomorrow at 1 p.m. So the next day, I went to that man's office. He called his wife, who is the manager of the hotel, because they have a hotel and his business office. So his wife came in his office. They sat with me and they say, Justin, can we trust you? We have a project that we've been planning to execute for 20 years since we started business here in Uganda, but we were fearing to start because we know we don't want to be, to be cheated. So we need someone we can trust, someone trustworthy to start this project. So they wanted actually to start building their residential home in Uganda, where they could, live as a family and so on and so forth, and have some activities around. So it was a very big site. So they asked me, can we trust you? I said, I don't know. So then the wife started looking at the husband. So we're asking, can we trust you? You say you don't know. I say, yeah, I don't know. So just try me. Try me. So they looked at me. Can we trust you? I said, well, try me because I know the Lord who accepted, who led you to me, will not forsake me. He will help me to be trustworthy. Because if I tell you I'm trustworthy right now, you say it's because I'm looking for this job. And for sure, I need this job badly. But just try me. I believe in God and he will not forsake me. So he looked at his wife and they started, So the guy said, okay, we're giving you a register and this is the book, this is the money we have, $2 million. That was the cost, the budget for the project. The men told me, if you save us some money, Justin, we will not only thank you, but we will give you a very nice job in our company. The company is called Sokoni Africa. It's a Sokoni Africa group of companies. It's a very, very big company with other different companies in it. So I started the project. For 2 years, I completed the project and I saved them $790,000.
Oh, wow.
So these guys were so happy. They said, well, as we said, this is what we are giving you. So they made me the assistant project manager at their company. So they made me the assistant manager actually there. So the manager was an Indian. So we started working with that man, and he was so fearful because the boss was speaking French with me as a Belgian, you know, he was Belgian and we were speaking French. So he saw how the boss was very connected to me. He was happy with the work I did for him. And this man said, I think they want to replace me and put Justin in my position as general manager. So he started overusing me, overworking me. So I was working days and nights nonstop. I even developed what we call, I developed in my stomach. So I developed, how is it?
Like an ulcer?
Ulcer, yeah. I developed ulcers, yeah. So, and the doctors told me, if you continue working like this, you will die. So I decided to quit the company and go back to school because, you know, Uganda is an English-speaking country, and I was from DR Congo, which is a French-speaking country. So I said, let me go back to school and learn and study something in English. So I went back to school as soon as I finished. So I started teaching in college in Uganda. So then some of my students who were from Somalia called and said, well, we have someone here. If this guy can come there, he will be able to help more students. So the university in Somalia called me and said, hey, Justin, we want you here. Can you come to Somalia? I said, well, I'm a Christian, and I know Somalia is the only 100% Muslim country in the world.
Wow.
So if you go there, you're a Christian, you are finished.
I did not know that, by the way.
Yeah,
until you mentioned that. That's interesting.
Yeah, no Christians there in Somalia.
Interesting.
No Christian. So I told the president of the university that, well, I'm a believer. I'm a believer that nothing will happen to me if the Lord doesn't say it's over, Justin. So, and I know he has saved my life in different opportunities, in different occasions, but I know I will not die. So I can come, but please tell me that you will protect me. And he said, well, because we want you here, I will make sure people don't know that you are a Christian, but try to grow your beard. Once your beard is grown, we will send you your visa and your air ticket.
Wow. Okay.
That's how I went to Somalia.
Okay,
Wow.
so hold on. Can I stop here? You were struggling to feed your 3 kids and your wife.
Yes.
You committed to fasting for 3 days until something happened. After your fasting, a Belgian person who you've never met in your life reaches out to you and says, can you come to my office? That turns into a job offer. That turns into a place in the company where you are again abused, and you choose to say goodbye to that, and you feel the need to be in Uganda and start teaching, and that leads you to Somalia.
That's correct.
Justin and Mike, it reminds me, you think about the experience and selling everything that your father had willed to you to create this organization, and the events that kind of lead up to where you are now, you can see the hand of God in all of this as you're saying it.
Correct.
But it just reminds me of 1 Nephi 17, right? Where Laman and Lemuel go through, they're traveling in the wilderness, and they say, boy, we've been through all of these terrible things. It would be better that we had died than experienced these terrible things. And Nephi says, man, we've been through all these terrible things, but wow, we've been so blessed by God through all these terrible things.
Yeah.
It's so interesting that, you're describing some of these events that are so, they're brutal. They're terrible. They're hard to imagine. And yet your default position, Justin, is I'm going to trust God because he will not forsake me. I love that conversation in the Belgium office.
Well,
Yes.
I love that too, because it's like, can we trust you? And you say, try me. Because the same God that led me here that you did not know who I was is going to deliver me until it's time for me to go, right? So,
Yes.
hey, Somalia, not so friendly to Christians. You know what? If I'm meant to be in Somalia, I'm going to be protected and let's do this. That's incredible, Justin. Like, I'm struggling with I'm looking at the experiences that I've had in my life that have taught me about faith, and I'm looking at your experiences. And it's so much more intense.
Yeah.
But the way your response is so like Joseph.
Yeah, 100%.
So like Joseph.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I love
Sure.
that. I love those stories.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of this goes down to the name you were given.
Sure. That's
Right.
right.
Every step you go, you're carrying that name, and you're carrying that conversation that you had with your dad saying, live your name.
Yeah. I love that. So powerful.
And you don't know
Yeah.
where it's going to lead, but it's like, I've got to live my name, and I've got to do that thing come
Yeah.
what may, and see where this thing goes.
Yeah, sometimes I see things happening to me and I say, I know this is another chapter that is adding to the biggest book.
Oh my goodness.
And Tyler, I haven't forgotten, the answer I'm answering is how I made it to San Diego, right?
Yeah. But let me just say this for the record, though. If someone called me tomorrow and said, grow your beard out, I'd be out, Justin. I can't grow a beard to save my life. So,
and it would be like literally to save your life. Grow your
That's
beard
right,
like
yeah.
your life depends on it, because it kind of does.
It kind of does.
Yeah, so I grew my beard up, and then once it grew up, I told the rector of the university. They sent me my visa and my air ticket. So my flight ticket, I went to Somalia. So I taught in college in Somalia for 2 years. And I came back to it, but I was going back actually for holiday. But something very important I would like to mention
Yeah.
from the Belgian guy who called me for a job. So I tried to find out how this man knew about me. And this man, I found out that there was a guy who was selling some crafts, some crafts at the hotel. And this man was from my country, from DR Congo, he was in Uganda as a refugee. And he heard this Belgian asking, do you know someone trustworthy who can help me from Congo? Because he knew that some Congolese are really good people. They don't steal, so something like that. And he said, I know, because he said his dad was part of those who colonized Congo, those colonialists in Congo.
Yeah.
And he said, I would like to find a Congolese who is educated who can help me to manage this project, to execute it until it's finished. So that man ended up to be the guy whom my wife was helping their children, their brothers and sisters, in an orphanage in Congo. So this man's father and mother died when the parents passed away. He remained with I think 2 brothers and 3 sisters. He was the one taking care of them until they got sick, they got malnutrition. So they were very, very ill. And an orphanage in Congo took them, to take care of them. So my wife worked in that orphanage for many years before I married her. So, and that's how.
What's your wife's name?
And my wife's name is Esther.
Esther. Okay.
Yeah. So when the guy knew that we were in Uganda already, so and that Belgian was looking for someone, and he said, "Oh, I have someone who has experience, has been doing this, helping many people. He will not steal your money." So he talked words about me, many good things that I don't even know if that described me. So that's how he said, "Oh, can you give me his phone number?" So the other guy gave my phone number to this Belgian guy, but it happened exactly when I finished my dry fasting.
That is
session. Yeah,
unbelievable. I mean, that's the world is so small, and it's wild to me. I that is amazing. That is miraculous, is what that is.
Yeah, and I always say that the little things that we do to others or for others, they are not lost efforts. They always come to us at the time we don't even know, we don't even expect, and they will bless us in many ways. So that's why I kept, since that's what happened to me in my country, I kept saying, I will always do more for others, very little for myself, because I know I am like someone who's saving his money, his wealth in the bank.
Yeah.
My actual bank for me is the good things I do for others.
Yeah.
You don't find money in my bank account. My money is on other people. Yeah. So that's how I live my life. So back to how I came to San Diego. So I was going from Somalia to Uganda for holidays because I didn't travel with my family. I left them in Uganda. So my wife and children remained in Uganda. As I went to Somalia to teach, I could come and go back and so on and so forth. But after the second year, a friend of mine called me and said, "Hey, Justin, there's an organization looking for a project coordinator. Can you apply?" I said, well, I know with corruption, they know who will take that position, because Uganda is also a very corrupt country like DR Congo. So I said, I know someone will they know already who's going to take that position. But at night, I felt the Spirit telling me, you have to apply for that job. So I told my wife, you know what, my friend told me this, but I don't feel comfortable. But this is what I just felt. I felt comfortable applying. She said, yeah, go for it. So I prayed, I said a prayer, prepared my resume and everything. So I applied for that job. After 3 days, I received a phone call. Hey, Justin, congratulations. So you were selected. Can you come for interview? So I went for the interview, and we were many, there were some other professors and, other people who came to apply for that job, and they came for an interview. So those who were selected. So after 2 days of interview, the interview after 2 days, they called me to congratulate me that the position was given to me. So when I went to the office, they said, well, this is what we're supposed to do, but get ready to go to the United States for a training of trainers. So when you go for the training, you come back, then you will train other partners in this project, and we will launch the project. So that's how I came to the United States. But as I was traveling, going to through checking at the international airport in Entebbe in Uganda. So a policeman came at the line and picked me up and said, hey, you, come here, show me your passport. I showed this guy my passport. And he said, okay. So he took my passport and went to a machine and put it in a machine. He came back to me and said, you're not traveling because your passport is not responding. There are some features that are not showing in the machine. So your passport is a fraudulent passport. It's a fake passport. You are not traveling. I said, what? Why am I not traveling? Oh, no, I said, look, the United States Embassy in Uganda could not put a visa, a US visa, in a fake passport. And there were many other visas from, when I was traveling from Uganda to Somalia, Kenya, so when I was going to teach. So in my passport, there were other visas. I said, why it has never been said before, and there are other visas? It's not a new passport. So how does it become fake right now, because I'm going to the United States? So he said, hey, don't question me, just go out of the line. So I went out of the line, waiting there. So I saw everyone go through, and I said, well, so what's wrong? Because my flight is very soon. They said, no, you are not traveling anymore. I said, oh my gosh. So immediately, a few minutes looking like this behind, I saw policemen come and collect me, arrest me. So they took me to jail. I stayed in jail for 7 days. So then I asked them, what's wrong exactly? They said, no, it's only your passport. We're going to check with your embassy, then the ministry in Kinshasa of foreign affairs. So then we will set you free if your passport is said to be genuine.
Jail for 7 days because
for
of
7 days, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Right.
So, and they said, you are not traveling. So in jail, I did my best to inform my wife again. And she went to the Congolese embassy in Uganda, in Kampala. So this is what happened to my husband. The ambassador came because she did also some calls to Kinshasa in DR Congo. And they tried to put some pressure on the ambassador so he can come to see me, a Congolese who was arrested. So the ambassador came and said, no, your passport was checked. It's a genuine passport. You got it in a very, very good way as it was supposed to be. So I paid for it. I applied in a normal way and they got it. So I started using it, going here and there, teaching and so on and so forth. So after those 7 days, I got out of jail. I did my best. I applied for another passport very quickly. It took me really too much to apply for a fast one. Then I went back to the US Embassy and explained to them what happened to me. They said, oh, this is rare. We have never seen this before. No one has ever sent in my passport. They put a stamp, cancelled without prejudice. So that is how they saw. I explained them. I told them you couldn't put a visa in a fake passport. They said, we checked your passport thoroughly. We check all passports before we issue visas. So they said, well, let's call Washington because this is the first time we get this situation. So they called Washington and they said, give him another visa. So they gave me another visa in the new passport. And after 3 days, I went back to the airport and showed the guy. And he saw me online and said, hey, you again? I said, yes, me. So how are you here? He said, well, I have a new passport and a new visa. He couldn't believe that, in that time frame, no one can get a visa.
Right.
A new passport, a new visa. So I showed him everything. He's checked again. He went to the machine. The passport responded. The features responded, and he checked everything. They stamped, and I went through, and that's how I came here.
Wow.
But while in jail, the temptation that Joseph got, the Joseph we know in the Bible, I passed through the same thing. There was an officer, a police officer, who was a lady who was the chief there at that jail. So she was after 2 days in jail, she was sending the police to call me. I could go to her office. I was arrested, but I ended up being she wanted to make friends, with me.
Like Potiphar's wife here.
All those. So, and she said she's tried to hold me, wanting me to kiss her. The 5th day, I said, no,
in the
please
world?
Help me. Let me go first for my trip. Give me your phone number. This is my phone number. When I come back from the United States, we will meet and we can continue our conversations. But right now, please forgive me. Let me continue my trip.
Yeah.
And she was okay, no problem. So she couldn't eat lunch without calling me in my cell where I was staying. So, and I came to the United States. That was another chapter. So, but after my training here, wanting to go back to Uganda, I called my wife to give her the routes. I will go from here to Dubai, then to Kampala, to Entebbe, then Kampala. So my wife told me, you know what? You are not safe to come back here. I said, what's wrong again? She said, well, there were some people were tracing your whereabouts. They saw us when we were coming from church. I said, who are those people? She said, we don't know them exactly, but they were speaking in Lingala, which is one of our Congolese languages. And they told us that they know where we live. They asked me if I was your wife. I said, no. We said we don't even know who they were talking about. But they said, no, we know you very well. You are his wife, and we know where you are staying here in Uganda. So that's when she told me, we also need, because we're in insecurity, we want you to stay there and then look for a new place for us to stay. Wow. So I started checking and I said, now what am I going to do? Because the flight was around 3:40 something. I was at LA International Airport and I told the taxi driver what to do, take me to Glendale in LA. So where I checked on my phone, I saw there was the International Rescue Committee, IRC. I thought they could help me. So I went to IRC and I told the taxi driver, okay, you can go. He said, no, you are missing your flight. I said, hey, that's not your business. Just let me here. You go back. So at that time, it was around 5-ish, and the office was closing. So they told me, we are sorry, we are closing. Now we have to go. I said, well, so this is my situation. I need help. What kind of help? I said, no, I wanted to go back to Africa, but I cannot go because my wife told me my life was in danger. They said, we have no way to help you because we help refugees who were brought by the government, but you were not one of them. In Uganda, you were a refugee, but here you are not a refugee. So you have to apply to get asylum here. Maybe after you get asylum, after you are granted asylum, that's when maybe we could help you. So I asked myself, I know the process to start that asylum seeking. And I said, oh my gosh, this is back again. So yeah. It was very, very difficult for me to understand that I was again going to start over. So at the end, I asked the lady, the manager there, so what am I going to do right now? Where am I going to sleep? I understand that you cannot help me, but I need somewhere to sleep at least because it's coming to, very soon it's going to be night. And I don't know anyone here. They said, that's really difficult for us because we have no way to help you. You are not a refugee. You brought yourself here, so you are not a refugee. I said, well, can I sleep in your office here? Maybe tomorrow morning we'll find a way. She said, oh, no, we are not allowed to let people sleep in offices here. I said, oh my gosh, so what am I gonna do? So then later, the lady went on over the phone, started talking, making calls, and she told me, okay, Mission Los Angeles has accepted to host you for 5 days. But they say it's only 5 days. After the 5 days, you have to find another way. I said, well, so then I said, okay, where will I be after those 5 days? But I said, okay, I know the Lord will provide. So this person called and said, hey, yeah, we accept. So please give him the address. So this woman refused even to give me a ride to the shelter home. She instead printed out the bus routes and gave me something they call in LA tokens for the bus. So I was like, okay, I took the paper, I saw which bus number. I don't even know the city.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, I'm not laughing at your misfortune, but this is unreal, right?
Yeah, so it was
You just
really
want to
hard.
go. You just want to go to. I would say you want to go home, but Uganda's not even home.
It's
You just
not.
want to be. You just want to go back to your family.
Yeah. So that's how I went to Mission Los Angeles. They received me there. At the entrance, they had something, a machine they wanted to put on my forehead and to see if I'm sober, because there are people using drugs there and stuff like that. I said, no, you can't do that on my forehead. They said, well, if you don't want that, you cannot stay here. There's no place for you here unless you accept us to check if you are sober. So I tried to insist, but they didn't. I told them I'm okay because I was wearing a suit and a tie,
Right,
from a training.
Yeah.
So,
Oh my
but finally, I gave up, and they did that on my forehead, and they recorded in the register. Then they told me to go through, and that's it. So life in there was like in hell. What we hear about hell, I was like, okay, so I never knew hell could be on earth. So I thought that was hell on earth. So it was
worse than 7 days in jail, falsely accused.
Yeah. That was horrible because in jail, I had this lady who could call me. I sit in her office, share food with her,
Yeah, right.
But
you had some special treatment in jail. Yeah,
many things. I mean, they're in the shelter home. Imagine 100 men. They tell you to go take a shower at the same time.
Yeah.
So I said, what? So why can't I take a shower before or after them? They said, no, all of you at the same time. I said, oh my gosh. So we go in the bathroom all at the same time.
Wow.
But they have the schedule. At this time we do this time we do this, that time we do this. So, and I said, no, I cannot do that. They said, you have to do it. They forced me, and I did shower at the same time as more than 100 men.
Wow.
So I was like a horrible place for me to be. A very, very bad experience there. I saw many things there that I cannot even describe here. And I said, well, I never knew that this could happen on earth. In my country, we have the system what we call street children. So we find children in street. Those are children who are in conflict with the law or with their families and stuff like that. But we have no adults. Street adults are not in my country.
Interesting, yeah.
So it was another horrible experience. But after that day, 5 days actually, I didn't know where to go. And they started asking me, your 5 days are over. Then I asked for more. I asked for an extension, and they gave me 2 more days to make 7 again. So after 7 days, one guy who was originally from Nigeria, his name is Peter, and Peter came to me and said, hey, Justin, you cannot stay here, man. He's a Black American, the accent. You cannot stay here, man. You have to go to San Diego. So I said, what? So he told me that Los Angeles was very expensive, and someone like me in tie and suit could not stay in a shelter home. So then I said, well, I don't know anyone. He said, why don't you go to San Diego? I said, I don't know anyone in San Diego. He said, well, you could stay in the street. There are many homeless people in the street. I said, in San Diego. So I said, okay, so how do I get there? Because I don't even have money, because I finished my mission and I was already going back home.
Right.
So this man said, well, what I can do, Justin, I can give you a few dollars, and you can pay the bus to San Diego, then find your way from there. So he gave me $30. So he told me you can pay bus 25. It was $25 by then, Greyhound from Los Angeles to San Diego. So I went. He showed me Greyhound bus station, and then he paid for me. I gave me $5 and say, hey, this is your pocket money, man. You can buy a pizza. I said, okay. So I came. That's how I came to San Diego, Tyler. So that's the question I asked. Was very, very difficult. Yeah, very difficult. But while if you want me to talk about that as well, while at Greyhound bus station, I was like, okay, so this man advised me to come to San Diego. Now here I am. What is the next step here? So I was like, what am I gonna do? And I checked there around 12 in Imperial. There are many homeless people there.
Yeah.
So this is where I'm ending. So I felt I started some tears in my eyes, and I was like, oh, this is another horrible chapter of my life.
Yeah, yeah.
But after, only something like 5 minutes later, a guy who came from the same bus also sat down and pulled up his phone and started calling. So he was calling his friends to come pick him up. And after that, he received another call, and this call, he started speaking in French. I was like, oh, he speaks French. So then after, when he finished talking over the phone, I felt like I should approach him and greet him. So I greet him in French, and he was so excited. The French people are like that. When you find someone who speaks your language in a foreign country, you feel so happy. And this man felt happy. He started asking me where I was from. I told him I was from the DR Congo. He said, oh, my mom worked in Congo. I said, your mom worked in Congo? Yes, she worked with UNICEF, this UN agency helping children. And I said, which area of Congo? Because I knew in my part, that's in the Eastern Congo, that's where there were many rebel groups, because there are many minerals there. That's where, all the troubles are. And I knew, I thought it could be there. So he told me his mom worked in South Kivu, and that's where I was from. Oh, wow. I asked him the mom's name. He told me the name, and I said, I know her very well. So they funded some of my projects to help the orphans in Congo. So we worked together in a partnership. He shouted and said, are you sure I know him? So then he called back and said, hey, mom, you know what? I have someone here who says that he knows you. So then I said, oh, what's the name? I said, oh, Justin. I said, oh, Justin, where's Justin? So he passed me the phone. I talked to the man. I said, hey, I started saying, it's me, Justin Mudekereza. She said, oh, Justin, my son, what are you doing in San Diego? What are you doing in San Diego? I said, nothing. He said, what? She said, what? So where are you going? I said, nowhere. She said, are you serious? Are you kidding me? I said, oh, I'm not going anywhere. Right now, I am in the middle of nowhere. And she said, like, oh, no way. What happened to you, Justin? I knew you were very powerful there. I said, no. That power is over. So she told her son, that man helped very many people, widows and orphans.
That man who's at the bus stop in San Diego in a suit that's now 7 days old.
Yeah.
Helped people on the other side of the planet.
Uh-huh. And here's the investment. Here's that investment, right? You talk about, yes. I don't have money in the bank.
Yes, but she told her son, don't leave that man on the street. Don't let him sleep on the street. So then this man did what? When his colleague, because he told me he was a student from France, but he was studying at San Diego State University. And when his colleague came to pick him up with a car, he took me in his car. We went to Mission Valley here in San Diego. That's where they were staying, around a place called, I think it's Portofino. Yeah. So that's where very nice apartments there. And we stayed there. And on the third day, this mentor, oh, Justin, you know what? I forgot to tell you that there is a guy he's my colleague at the university. He's from Congo as well. Maybe you may know him. So I asked him the name, and he told me the name of that colleague of his was Cedric. And I ended up to remember that Cedric was the same guy who took me and my wife and my children in Uganda and took us to the church where his father was a pastor. And that's where we were sleeping, in a church that was under construction. So, but I knew that the Cedric I knew, that one was resettled in Kentucky. So when he described Cedric Muhula, I said, oh, he's the one, but I didn't know he was already here in San Diego. So by that time, Cedric just married an American girl. They were already married. And so he called, I told him, well, connect me with that boy, that colleague of yours. So the next day he brought Cedric home, and Cedric said, oh no, why didn't you tell me you were here? I said, I didn't tell you because I knew you were in Kentucky. I came here for a training, and I thought I would go back immediately after the training. So I would not get or find time to look for people. So he said, no, Kentucky was very cold, and I decided to come to San Diego and here. So
no offense to our friends. No offense to our friends in Kentucky.
So then Cedric called his wife, say, hey, Kelly, you remember Justin I've always told you about. He is here, but staying with my friend, my colleague here. So can I bring him home? She said, of course, if it's the same guy you told me about, you always tell me about, let him come home. So Cedric took me to his place, and that's how I got another shelter opportunity. And we moved to La Mesa. And on a Saturday, I was looking for a place to go to church on next day, Sunday. So I moved around and I saw a Catholic church. I said, no, I'm not going to this. I was looking for a Protestant church because I was Protestant by then. So I was looking, I went to a place called Lake Mary Boulevard, looking for a church. So as I was moving, I saw a church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I saw there's no cross. I said, there's no cross here. But I could read the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I said, well, okay, let me go. I cannot go to this one. I continued looking for the church. So, and I saw a place and I said, okay, tomorrow Sunday, I'll come to this church. So on the Sunday morning, as I was going to church, reaching the LDS church, I felt something telling me, why are you going far? And there is a church here. You are leaving a church and going far. I said, well, anyways, it's a Church of Jesus Christ. Let me try it. There's no cross, but it's a Church of Jesus Christ. So I entered in there, and I felt so blessed to be in that church. So because I felt the hymns that they sing, they were singing were just like in a monastery, because I wanted to become a Catholic priest, and I wanted to become, it was in a monastery. So in the monastery, we're using hymns also to pray, to sing in church. So it was really fantastic. And that's how I joined that church. The missionaries connected with me, started teaching me, oh, when are you going to be baptized? Hey, wait, I know more than you. I can teach you more. Because I wanted to become a Catholic priest. Yeah. And then I quit. I decided to become a Protestant. Now I'm in your church. So you have only been LDS. You have never tried something else. So I can teach you more than you can teach me. So that's briefly how I came to San Diego and how I joined the church.
Wow. I'm just blown away by the, I think a lot of times we look at things that happen in our lives and we chalk it up to a coincidence, right? Mm. Or that was good luck, right? But I'm just blown away by the coincidences, right? Where you get off of a bus and hear someone speaking in French, and then that person's mother.
On,
it's just unbelievable, but it's miraculous, right? And
it is for sure. Yeah.
And I think a lot of times, we question ourselves: Are we really seeing miracles? Are we really participating in miracles, or is this just good luck? And I think when we're listening to Justin talk, it's just evident that God's hand's in everything.
Well, right? And it's like, does God know who I am?
Yeah.
Right? God, are you there? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's there. He's in the details of the details. If that guy doesn't get a phone call in French and speak his French language,
it was going to be impossible.
None of that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. So after
hey, really quick, Justin, you should have gone to Hollywood, because this story
yeah, exactly,
is remarkable.
It is amazing.
Like, it's cool that you ended up in San Diego, and it's cool how the story unfolds from there, but man,
maybe you can take me there. Life is all about connections, right?
That's it.
I'm just glad that connections.
I'm just glad that at some point in time, I know Dan Collins, who knows Justin, that we get to have this conversation.
It's
absolutely miraculous. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So when I started lessons with the missionaries. Then after a few weeks, they were, okay, when are you getting baptized? I said, no, let's go slowly, because I need to learn more about your church. I've been a Catholic, Protestant, so I need to learn more about your church before I can be baptized. Maybe I will not be baptized, because I don't know how many times I will be baptized.
Right.
So then we continued, but as I continued learning, I started feeling really that it was the right place for me to be. And then later on, I told them, well, I think I have to be baptized again. So it was really cool. And I told them the day I wanted to be baptized, and it happened. So, but when I told my wife, I'm going to be baptized, she was like, what, again? So, but okay,
she's still back in Uganda at this time, right?
By that time, she was still in Uganda and the children. So, but I told her, I feel like this is the right thing to do, because by that time I'd learned about the right priesthood. And I know, although I was already baptized as a Catholic and a Protestant, but I still need to be baptized through the right priesthood. So I felt so strong, and I explained to my wife, and she couldn't believe me. But I said, okay, I know I cannot bend your decision when it comes to spiritual matters. So then, but she said, okay, why don't you wait for us to be there and witness your baptism when we will join you there? And I told her I would like to do so, but the Bible says that no one knows the day and the time when the Savior will come back. So what if he comes back tomorrow? So I feel like I have to be baptized today.
Wow.
So what if I wait and the Savior comes back tomorrow? Because I don't know what time you're going to join me here. And by that time I was still in my asylum application process. It took so many years. Got separated for 7 years with my family, my children,
Wow.
So, and I was like, this is not something I should wait for. I feel it now. It has to happen right now. And she said, okay, good luck. But please send us some pictures so we can see your baptism at a distance. I said, thank you. So I went through my baptism, but the mission president was really good enough. He organized with the missionaries in Uganda and connected with my family. So the missionaries started going to my family to teach the kids at home, visit them. And they told me, hey, we saw people from your new church. They are wearing like Jehovah's Witnesses. But we don't like to, be members of your church. I said, no problem. I'm not asking you to become members of the church, but just let the missionaries come and teach you at home or visit you at least. No problem. They can even pray with you and so on and so forth. So they start giving time to the missionaries to visit until the next week they told me, okay, we want to visit your church. I said, really? Yes, we want to be. We feel like we should just visit, not becoming members. I said, okay, go visit. So they went with the missionaries visiting our church. When they came back, my wife told me, hey, Daddy, that church is really nice. So the songs, the hymns that they were singing there, it is like in a monastery. Because my wife also was going to become a sister when I wanted to become a priest. So when I quit the Catholic Church, she also quit and we got married. So that's how she remembered how we were singing the songs in the monastery, And she said, oh, they're just like monastery songs, hymns. It's really great. I said, I told you it was a very good thing. So then after a month of lessons with the missionaries, they call me and say, Daddy, we feel like we should be baptized too. I said, okay, it's good. I'm glad it came from you. I did not force you into it. So my wife and our first 3 daughters were baptized on the same day. And they became also members of the church. So the following year, my son Joseph said, I don't want to be baptized by another person. I want my dad to baptize me. So I will wait when we join our dad so he can baptize me himself. So I was really glad to baptize my son in January this year. So when they came here, so I baptized him with his sister, the last one, and she was already 9 years old. My son was 10, and I baptized them. My son was actually just turned 11.
Wow. So, and you had been separated from your family, Justin, for 7 years?
Yes, 7 years. Yeah.
7 years.
Yeah.
The
asylum process took too long. And I was like, oh man, I wish I knew this. Maybe I could decide to go back so we can go to another African country if it's not Uganda, but we could go somewhere else to stay there. But, with faith and prayer, we need to happen. We'll reunite, and it just happened this year in January.
Wow, that is an amazing story, and I think that some people would think, and myself included, right, Mike? It's like, man, it'd be so easy to kind of maybe throw in the towel or shake your hand at the sky and say, why is all this happening to me? Right.
Well, I think I think that's one of the miracles of this story, right? Because we talk about faith and we talk about helping other people, but at some point you got to be thinking, can I get a break here? Right. I just came to this. I came to this country for a training.
Yeah.
And here I am now, 7 years removed from my family. Right. But I think it's really important. I love that idea, Justin, when you talk about your bank is in other people, right? We do these things. We are not looking for return.
Mm-hmm.
We do these things because they are the things that people that have faith do.
Yeah.
We trust that there will be a return, right? We trust, but in the end, we do it come what may.
Yep.
And it just so happens that it comes, and it may not come tomorrow, and it may not come right. But as we hold our way, as we keep our covenants, as we keep our promises, it will come. How cool. What did that feel like when your wife and kids got off the plane 7 years later?
It was a great experience, and no one could believe it, because every time we tried, really, we fought. We did our best. Me as a father, I fought for my family for this family reunification, and it never happened. And sometimes I could even think that maybe I should give up on this marriage. You know, you are men like me, right?
Yeah.
So maybe I should give up on this marriage, and it's really hard, difficult for me, for a man to be separated with his children and his wife for 7 years. You know, but with faith, with great faith, with prayer, we felt, and another miracle, but maybe other people may not think it's a miracle, but for me and for my family, it is this connection. Me being baptized, member of the LDS Church, and this connection happening with the missionaries and my family in Uganda. So, and the connection here with the church helped my family, my marriage to survive. You cannot imagine.
Yeah.
You cannot imagine.
That is a miracle. Yeah. That is a miracle. Man, I love the idea of, Mike and I talk a lot on this podcast in particular about just being able to recognize miracles in our lives, right? How important it is to be intentional about understanding how God's involved in what we're doing. And I feel like your story is kind of a masterclass in what that looks like, But wow, it's so powerful. So here you are now. You're unified together. You're reunited. You've got this election upcoming in December. Justin, what gives you hope now? What gives you hope these days?
So what gives me hope is, I can say my faith.
Yeah.
My faith gives me a lot of hope, because I know that many good things are going to happen. And these many good things to happen, it will not be for my own good, but it will be for the good of many, many millions of people. Like these more than 100 million Congolese who have been really, devastated by wars and by corruption, by all many anti-values, So, and I know it will be the time that the Lord has chosen for them to find someone who can help them to breathe a little bit. Because we have the DR Congo, you can read about it on the internet. The DR Congo is said to be the most wealthy country around the world in mineral resources.
Yeah.
So the way God has blessed the DR Congo, there's no other country that has been blessed like DR Congo. All the what we call strategic minerals today, right? The world is talking about clean energy, blah, blah. So you can't you can't do clean energy without cobalt. And the DR Congo is the world producer #1 of cobalt. So the second country is Russia. Russia does not export, but they use their cobalt. DR Congo exports to China, and it's another topic. But this country was very, very much blessed, and it has never got a blessing to have a leader who doesn't think only about himself. A leader who thinks about the people first. They have never got a chance to get a leader like that.
Have you been home?
Since I left, no, I've never been home. Yeah, since I left, but they want me badly. They want me there right now.
Yeah. Do you feel, so we talked about what that reunion was with your family. As you think ahead of what that reunion with your homeland, what feelings come into your heart?
Oh, I think it will be a great, I call it also a miracle. So in my life is full of miracles. In fact, myself, I call myself a miracle, as
absolutely
a child,
Yes.
I don't think there's any other word.
Yeah.
And I love me some words. I can't come up with anything but, and actually, Justin, in our time together, I'm redefining what miracle is.
Yeah. Yep.
I've used miracle to describe things like finding my lost car keys.
Mm-hmm. That's it.
I think I need to redefine what miracle is after our time together for sure.
Yeah,
Sorry.
that's right. That's right. Yeah, so it will be. I'm actually looking forward for that day when I go back home. I stand up on my motherland. It will be a very big day for me. It will be a very big day. So the people have been looking for me, calling me, come right now, come right now. But the problem is, I'm still stuck with finances and stuff like that. As a presidential candidate, I know what it takes. So for my people, since I've been here for many years, they know that, I'm wealthy to compete with these billionaires who have been in corruption, stealing the country's wealth and stuff like that. But I'm just going to become a presidential candidate by faith. I don't have money.
Yeah.
But I know I'm going to win the election.
Wow.
So no money at all, but I know I'm going to win. I'm the next president of the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Oh my goodness. Think about this. So Tyler, I love the question, right? What gives you faith? But for the first time ever, you and I are looking at the hope of millions.
Yeah.
Of people
Absolutely
are personified in the person we're talking to right now.
I just love what you just said.
Millions.
Yeah. And Justin, you said, well, I'm a presidential candidate that has nothing, but I have faith.
Yep.
But I go back to that idea of the investment of the people that not only you served, but that your father served, right? Yes. And this legacy that was created, that while you've been separated from your homeland for a long time, that legacy has continued to thrive.
Exactly.
And I love that so much, Mike.
Okay, so Justin, you are so much more. There's so much more depth to you and your story than the bio that I got for preparation, right? Into our conversation. But I did notice here, and I love the name, and I love what Nelson Mandela represents. So can you talk a little bit? I see here that you were awarded the 2022 Nelson Mandela Leadership Award.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So actually, when I talked about my faith, knowing that everything is possible, as the Bible says, everything is possible for those who have faith, for those who believe. So and when I said also that being a member of the LDS Church also has helped me to increase my faith in God, my faith in Jesus Christ. And I've been trying to use this faith, from the faith that I had before I became a member, adding on the teachings of the church, which is also the teaching of Jesus Christ himself. So it all together kind of multiplied my faith times 10.
Wow.
So at some point when I was going through these, people chose me when I was in there leading a movement, a pressure movement at many thousands of miles away. And people end up creating this political party, choosing me to lead as a chairman until they chose me to be the presidential candidate, So all these together, I said, no. I'm a human being. I cannot just go by my own will or by the people's will. At some point, I said, I have to contact the prophet. So, but who am I to contact the prophet? That's the question I asked myself.
So when you say, really quick, we have friends that are not members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So when you say the prophet, we're referring to the president of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints.
That's correct.
Russell M. Nelson. Wonderful.
That's correct. So I said, well, when I came back at one night, I said, maybe I should write a letter to him, seeking his prayer, his guidance, and to know if this is the God's will for me to do this, or if I should give up. So, but, I came again, asked my friend Dan Collins in the morning when I came to work. I said, well, I got an idea to write to the prophet, to the president of the church. because I've been in this, as you know, guiding these people in Congo. People trust me very badly, and they want me to stand as a presidential candidate. But I still feeling that they're human beings like me, and I don't want to go by the will of men. So I have an idea to write to the prophet and seek his guidance. So then God told me, well, if you feel it, remember when the former prophet was talking about the promptings, if you felt those promptings that you should write to him, just do it. So I tried my French sounding English, write down something, and told Ben Collins, please help me to edit. And he said, yeah, Justin, it's perfect, send it. So I sent the letter. I never knew that, I said, okay, maybe he may reply or not. So, but at some point I received a text message from my state president saying, hey, Justin, there is a letter from you here in my office from Salt Lake City. Come, so you have, the secretary of the state president texted me and said, hey, you come to the state president's office and so on and so forth. So we made the arrangements and it was wonderful. So I'm not going to talk about what was in the letter and stuff like that. But through that response from the president of the church, I increased again my faith, and I came to know that it was the right thing to do. I have to stand as the presidential candidate and win the election and help the millions of people of Congo. And as the prophet says, everyone has a role to play in the gathering of Israel. Yeah. So I think that's my role that I'm going to play. And so that's it.
Justin, Mike, what about that? Just write a letter for crying out loud.
Hey, Justin, I want to commend you for the way that you are playing your role.
Yeah.
You've inspired me. I am humbled, right? We call this a little podcast project, and I've never felt it more little than right now.
Okay.
Right. I am honored to be in the presence of a presidential candidate for the Democratic Republic of Congo. Sure. I'm humbled at the faith that you've demonstrated through trying times. I find it fascinating, your words to your Belgian friend, just try me. Because it feels like that's exactly what that's exactly what God has been doing.
Sure.
Right.
So I have to. So because I'm answering the question about the Nelson Mandela Leadership Award, right?
Yeah.
So with the faith, I got increased. So at some point there was an illegal tax that was started by the government in Congo, the current regime. So they started an illegal tax whereby every cell phone holder was supposed to pay, I think, $1.7 a month. And we have over 65 million cell phone holders in Congo.
Wow.
Now calculate this amount times, every month for 3 years. So at some point when, after my routine prayer before going to bed, I felt like, oh, no. People are suffering. People say, in Congo, they use when you want to make a call, you buy a card, you scratch it, and you recharge. You recharge your phone and you call. But every time you could buy a card, you scratch it, then you receive a message, thank you for being a good citizen, you have paid your tax. And you will not have anything to call anymore. So people felt so bad, they were crying, they were feeling so terrible that a government that was supposed to help them come out of poverty is the same government that is now, taking money out of them. So after my routine prayer, I felt the Spirit told me, you created this with all these Congolese people to fight for the people. Why don't you do something? Why don't you do something against that illegal tax? So, and I felt so comfortable because I know I have my way that the Spirit talks to me, and I can feel that I have to do that. Right?
there's a confidence there, right? Because of the experiences you've had in the past, right?
Yes. So I said, I have to do this. So I called my Secretary General and I said, well, about the illegal tax, I feel like we should go to court with the government and the telecommunication companies. They said, oh, no, Mr. Chairman, don't do that. We are a very new political party, and there's no political party that had ever been in court with the government in the history of Congo. So they will target ours, they will kill us, they will even silence our party. I said, well, remember that we created this party not for ourselves, but for the people. And the people are suffering right now with that illegal tax. So I said, I need a very quick meeting with all the attorneys from our party. So he kind of tried to refuse, and I think I did some kind of dictatorship on that point, because he never wanted me to. He never wanted to listen to me because they were fearing that they will target them, they will kill them, and I understood that. But I said, I feel comfortable. I have the message. The Lord told me to fight for the people, and I'm doing it.
And you of all people understand that threat.
Yes.
Right? That physical threat of, we're not kidding about people wanting to physically harm, kill. You know that personally.
Yes. So we held 3 days ago, after 3 days, we held a meeting with the attorneys, those who are members of our party, and I told them clearly what I wanted them to start a lawsuit against the government. They actually said no, but I said, you have to do it. Send me the file, I'll read through and send back to you. So when they saw that I've insisted, and I told them, look, we are going to win that lawsuit, they started laughing at me. They said, oh, Mr. Chairman, no, we cannot. You know, corruption, the government, the justice is also corrupt. I said, we will win the lawsuit. So I told them I'll talk even to the judges because they are also victims of that illegal tax. So they prepared the lawsuit. They sent to me. I read through. It was in French, actually, my official language. And I confirmed everything was okay after editing and sent to them. I took a passport copy of my passport with the recommendation that I'm the chairman of the party, sending those attorneys to represent me in court. So we spent 6 months in court with the government and 4 telecommunication companies. But guess what? Last year in March, we won the lawsuit and the tax was removed.
Wow. I love it.
So the people were set free from that illegal tax. So we calculated, I sent people to do research. We checked at the Central Bank of Congo. There was nowhere to try to trace that money. So we sent people to check here and there. We found out that that money was being managed by the State House itself. So the president has his own friends there at his office as his cabinet who were managing that money. Over $1.8 or $2 billion were already received in that money. So, and we won the lawsuit. Today, as I'm speaking to you, that illegal tax is no longer existing in Congo. So the Indian, NRI, it's an organization that is for non-resident Indian who are in UK. They started, I don't know how they learned about it. I think they have also diaspora, Indian diaspora in Congo. So they started looking for my contacts. But they were so surprised. How could a man just wake up and decide to go to court with the government, and the government in a country like Congo, where there's corruption, justice is almost not existing, so they are corrupt. So they called me one day. I received a call. Hey, can we talk to Dr. Justin? I said, well, this me. It was early morning here, we have time differences with UK.
Yeah.
So he said, this is NRI. Can you tell us a little bit how you took that decision to go to court with the government of Congo over the illegal tax? And then I said, telling them how the idea came. People suffered, and I decided that we created this party to help the people. So now they are suffering. We have to help to serve them out. So, and they said that is exactly why we decided to give you the Nelson Mandela Leadership Award, because you were able to decide as a leader to save your people. As Nelson Mandela stood against apartheid and apartheid, and we think that's also what you almost did for your people.
Wow.
So they say we saw also on internet the work you do with the refugees there in San Diego, where what you did in Congo when you were still there. So I said, yeah, that's it. And they gave me that the Nelson Mandela Leadership Award, as you read in my bio.
That's courage. That is courage manifest, right? And I love the generative language. When people were doubting you use that "we will win."
Yes, I told them we will win.
Right, that confidence.
Because before I start something, I know the outcome. So, and when I tell people, they don't understand, they don't believe me. But my friend Dan Collins, we've been since 2016 when I became a member of the church. That's when he met me. It was at Mission Devotional, like we met Tyler last time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that's when Dan Collins, he was sent by the mission president to call me to speak at the fireside. So I had only something like 5 minutes to speak, and we started from there. Yeah. So, but, he has known me for these years, and every time I tell him, okay, this is going to happen, well, okay, yeah, I understand. But other people may not understand that. You know? And those who know me, if I tell them this is what is going to happen, and they say, well, okay, let's see. But they will say at the end of the day, it will happen. Just like I've just told you.
Yeah.
Or I don't have money. I have competitors who have been stealing for many years. They're billionaires. I don't have money, but I will be elected president for that country.
I love it.
Well, Dr. Justin, I think you've done a great job of telling the hand of God in your life, but we want to give you this space to honor anyone and everyone that you would love to honor right now. In this platform, I think the air turns a little different when we use that verb honor. Mm-hmm. As you think about where you are, who you are right now, is there anyone that you would like to honor?
Yeah, of course I have, with the picture you have already seen of my life, there are eventually many people to honor. But one of them, I think I can honor my friend, my brother, Dan Collins, the person who has known me for these years since I've been here. And he's the person who had believed in me, because trusting me had also helped very many people. I haven't talked about that, but since I met Dan Collins, we started together a nonprofit organization called New Neighbor Relief. New Neighbor Relief is a nonprofit organization assisting refugees here in San Diego. And we help them start a new life here. People come here, they don't know the language, they don't know anyone. They are in the middle of nowhere like I was a few years ago. And they are supposed to survive. They have to live a better life. This is America, a country that you call a country of dreams. So, but if you see how people are suffering here, others are developing mental illnesses because they don't have anyone to help them. They are in this limbo in the middle of nowhere. So that's how we decided to create this, to help them in another way. There are many, there are 4 traditional resettlement agencies here. They are overwhelmed. The time we started this week, so they were overwhelmed. A lot of bureaucracy. They have resources to help, but I don't know how they did it or how they do it. So we decided to be their support and do something quickly, reduce this amount of time, no bureaucracy. We are actually the only nonprofit organization here in San Diego where clients come, they walk through, and they go out with a check.
Wow.
To solve their problems. No bureaucracy.
Yeah.
No bureaucracy. We understand the problem, we solve it. And the money we use comes from
you
people
understand
like
the problem. You understand the problem. You've lived it.
And that's what they say in French. Pour sauver naufragé, il faut se retrouver dans l'eau. So if you want to save someone out of drowning, you have to be in water. You have to be in the water. You cannot save a drowning person if you don't want to stand in water. And that helps us every day. And it's part of what I do here. My investment, I invest my time in these people, helping them days and nights. My phone is always on 24 hours to help. They have many problems. But if these resettlement agencies, if you call right now, it's 9 p.m., they are closed already. But if a refugee calls me, I will answer and go there eventually, or give them an appointment, and we can solve the matter early morning, because we want people to have relief.
Yeah, I just think about your experience, Justin, at the IRC, right, where you say, "Can I sleep in the office?"
Yeah, they say no.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
we love Dan Collins, and we appreciate you honoring him.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Justin, this has been an awesome experience. I appreciate you taking time away from the many different things that you have going on, and investing a little bit of time in us and in our listeners as well. I think I've learned a lot tonight just hearing you, and it's made me reflect on some of my own experiences and put some things into perspective for me. And I think it's going to do the same for a lot of people that are listening to this podcast.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, Justin, we have this podcast called Richest Men in Town. It comes from an amazing movie. I don't know if in your time here you've had an opportunity to watch It's a Wonderful Life, but George Bailey's my own presidential candidate, right? I think the world of his example in that movie, and that movie ends with a toast. George Bailey's life is a wreck, right? But he's come to learn what's important, and a lot of those things that would be on his list of what's important came out in our time together tonight. His little brother comes home. He's a war hero. He comes home and he comes into the middle of George's mess, and he raises the glass and toasts his brother as the richest men in town. And Tyler and I love that thought.
Yeah, that's
right.
Right.
What if the richest men in town isn't about having the most money in the bank? Right? Could we in our own little way redefine what people consider to be the rich life? And so that's why we do what we do. But so Justin, to you, what does it mean to be considered the richest men in town?
Oh man, yeah, it means a lot. I was surprised that I was called, to be on your podcast as the most. I mean, what did you say? The richest man in town. I was like, oh, how can I be the richest man in town? I don't have tons of money in my bank account. I remember that. Oh, I'm very rich as well. So although I always tell my kids, my pockets are empty, but my heart is full. So my kids know that. And I always tell them, don't think that, our dad will leave wealth behind. No. If I leave something, it will be sold to help those in need. So you have to study. You have to be strong, make wealth if you want wealth, but don't count on anything from your dad. So my kids know that every day. And when I talked about Dan Collins, he trusted me, and we tried to start this organization together. So if he never trusted me, that wouldn't have happened. We have helped many, many families, hundreds of refugee families here. So, but it's not also by any chance, because for me, I say coincidence does not exist in my life. All is God's plan. And when I look at his name, it's Daniel, and these are names that come back every time in my life. So I have a few names. I'm going to surprise you, Tyler. I have a few names that always come in my life, and those names, people with those names always play a major role in my life. Daniel is part of those names, and they are biblical names.
Yeah.
I see Mr. Freeman. You are called Mike. Is it Michael or what?
It's Michael. Yeah.
So, my friend, you have a role to play in my life. So, Daniels, Michaels, James's, Matthews, Joseph's, these are people. Every time the Lord connects me with these people, they play a major role in my life. And currently, the struggle I have now is to find money to go to campaign and save the people of Congo, hundreds of millions of people. So, Michael, if you have any person or any idea where to knock, don't forget to do so. You may be part of this big role we are playing today.
Well, we would love to wake up whoever's on the other end of this line.
Maybe Tyler can do something too, but I'm talking about these names, specifically.
Yeah. We would love to throw out a call to action to help you in any way that we can, whether it's in your presidential campaign, whether it's the work that you and Dan Collins are doing. We will do everything that we can, Dr. Justin, to try to help you
absolutely
do these things, because I feel when you say we will.
I feel that 100%.
That's great. That's great to hear. That's really cool.
I tell you, Justin, I love that answer. I've loved our time together. I can tell you, I love you. I'm grateful to know you, and I'm excited for the things that are going to come. And man, I appreciate all that you're doing, all that you will do, and all that you have done.
Thank you so very much. It was a pleasure to be with you and to be called one of the richest men in town.
Boy, if a title ever fit, this was it, right, Mike?
Yeah, Dr. Justin, keep living your name, right?
Thank you so. I will with the grace, by the grace of God, I will.
Yes.
He will help me through.
Yes. Well, we appreciate you so much.
My prayer is to do another podcast with you next year when I'm in office.
Yes.
So at a long distance from my office. So
we will stay up late for that one.
We will do anything. We will do anything
right.
for that one.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thanks, Justin. Have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Good idea, Ernie. A toast to my big brother George, the richest man in town.